Hello and welcome to a look at Finders Keepers for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Mastertronic. Even though the instructions are more or less telling the background plot thing for this game, there is a bit more to it. The king of Ishbishima or something, I don't know how it's pronounced, but whatever the case, the king of before mentioned, maybe mispronounced kingdom is in a bit of a pickle because the following day is his daughter's birthday and he has no idea what to give her. At the same time, Dream Knight, the main character of this game, has a desire to join the Polygon table, which is apparently the highest honor anyone can earn in the kingdom. So, if he finds a birthday present for the princess, the king will allow him to become a member of the Order of the Polygon table. So the king sends the Dream Knight to Castle Spriteland, an evil, vicious, nasty, naughty place apparently, and sends him hunting for the birthday present. Now, of course, the Dream Knight has another option. He can find treasures for himself and sell them to various traders, getting as much money as possible and find a way out of the castle and become a free man. So it is up to the player as to whether they decide to be loyal to the king and seek out the person for the princess, or they just want to get as wealthy as possible and escape the damn place. As the game starts, the king is waving your way to the teleporter and sends you to Castle Spriteland, where you have to navigate various different screens and pick up items and try and work out where the different traders are that you can sell the items to and buy other items that could be useful in your attempt at progressing through the various different screens. Apparently, certain objects respond to each other, so they can increase or decrease in value once combined, and it is up to you to work out what can be combined with what and how it affects the value of whatever it is you're carrying. If you look at the interface screen thing, to the right you can see the room percentage, and considering how few rooms we've been through, you can likely imagine that this is not exactly the largest game ever made. Underneath that you have your cash, which is the cash you have on hand. Surprise, surprise. And the objects is the value of whatever objects you run around with currently. Underneath that you have your strength meter, which will deplete as you take damage from either falling, walking over bad surfaces, or being accosted by one of the various enemies on the various different screens. Underneath that again you have the 4 knights, which are your lives, and if you lose a life you respawn exactly on the spot where you lost the previous life. From a graphical point of view, I don't think anyone's going to claim that this is the best looking Commodore 64 game ever made, but you know what? That's perfectly fine. They're not called them enemies, even though they technically are enemies, but the various different objects, characters, and whatever else they might be walking around on the different screens are not exactly hyper advanced, super detailed, billions of animation frames or anything, but you can easily identify what is what, and as such, I am perfectly happy with the graphical style. No one tried to go out of their way to make the game look particularly super spiffy, and as has been the case in many a game, um, because they didn't attempt to do such, didn't fail at doing such. And yeah, as I said, I am perfectly happy with the graphical style of this game. More importantly, of course, even though the screens are not particularly busy, you don't have any flickering, slowdown, drag down, whatever that you experience in certain games. There's one distinct title I have covered, which is a showcase of such. Sound effects wise, there's not an awful lot of sound effects. The main sound effects are when you pick up objects, and if you take the damage, you can hear sort of slightly draining, grating sound kind of thing. But even though they are sparse, I do find them very fitting and enjoyable, and not in any way, shape, or form intrusive. They give you the information you need to get, and yeah, that is the purpose of sound effects, and they serve that perfect purpose even perfectly fine. The music, the tune is a relatively short loop, and I have to admit, initially, as I started doing the recording of this, I half expected the music to get on my nerves. But actually, it didn't. It's not exactly the most advanced tune ever made, and it's not exactly upbeat in any way, shape, or form, but it has a certain pleasant ring to it. I found it to be surprisingly acceptable to listen to for any length of time. Because of course, despite the fact that the videos I serve are usually about 10 minutes long, there's a good chance that I have recorded much more footage than that. The controls are what you hope them to be. Left to move left, right to move right, and up and down to move up and down once it is relevant, which it will be in certain sections of this game. You use the fire button to jump, and specifically the jump can be a bit interesting initially, because Dreamlight will jump at an angle as long as you hold down the fire button up to a certain upper cap. Of course, he can't jump indefinitely or infinitely, whichever one of the two works or is correct, whatever. But if he bonks his head against anything that resembles a platform or the invisible upper edge of the screen, he will stop his jump immediately and fall straight down. It takes a bit of getting used to, but it's not something that you can't get used to, so I will not hold it against the game. When it comes to the gameplay, last week I covered the game Sorrow, and in all honesty, the two games' gameplay is in many ways very similar. Explore various different screens, pick up objects, avoid enemies, and try to work out what objects work with what other object or scenario or screen or whatever else it might be. And despite the fact that I claimed in the Sorrow video that I didn't particularly enjoy that kind of gameplay, I found the very similar gameplay in this specific game to be far less daunting. Maybe it's the Sorrow tag that made me expect more from that game than I did from this one, but I have to admit I did find overall this game to be very enjoyable. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.